Why I bought the Whoop strap. So Whoop is a company that makes a strap that is basically a fitness tracker that is approximately the size of this Casio watch, and the tracker is also approximately the size of this Casio watch, and it tracks heart rate variability. Now, what is heart rate variability? It's a measurement that determines which of your two systems is more in control, the parasympathetic nervous system, or the sympathetic nervous system on the other hand. So this then tells you how recovered you are from any given thing you do in life. And this is something that is probably worth tracking. Apart from this, it also is apparently a very good sleep tracker. What it doesn't track is actual workouts. So you cannot just tap on, yes, now start the exercise. That's not what it does. So it's basically a continuous tracker. And it also seems to be, in terms of measuring the calories, it seems to be on the lower side of measuring. Basically, less calories actually. So this is something I also heard. So now, what are the reasons why I bought the Whoop? In this video, we will discuss, first of all, the main reason that got me into the Whoop. Second of all, basically the alternatives. Third of all, the finances. And fourth of all, maybe the future. That's maybe a good outline. So first of all, why I bought the Whoop. And this already kind of also includes the alternatives, I guess. The Galaxy Watch 4 is not an alternative. I have the Galaxy Watch 4 and I like it, apart from the fact that I have to charge it like 3 times a day in order to have battery for tracking my workouts and also battery for tracking my sleep, because you actually cannot charge a sleep tracking device at night. So I searched quite a bit if I could track somehow on this watch or in any other way heart rate variability, because it seems to be a measurement that is worth tracking. Now, on the older Galaxy watches with Tizen OS, it actually is possible that you can track heart rate variability because there are third-party apps. Samsung Health also partially includes heart rate variability tracking in their stress measurements, but there is no actual display. It seems that the watches just don't have the capability to continuously measure heart rate variability, but only to measure it once basically in a single session, and then you sit down and measure it. Similar to the blood pressure management. Not management, but measurement, you could say. Now, after I realized the Galaxy Watch 4 didn't have it, or didn't basically give heart rate variability measurements to me in a way that are continuous, I waited for the Galaxy Watch 5 because I thought maybe Samsung would actually introduce heart rate variability measuring on these newer watches, but it didn't. The only thing they added is a sensor, a temperature sensor, and a few other things. I think the sensor is even, not the sensor, it's called the sensor, the processor is even the same compared to the Galaxy Watch 4, at least on the normal models. I don't know about the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro though. Now, since I wanted to track HRV and I didn't have a solution yet, I had to search for a solution. And this solution included apps on the Galaxy S10 I own. And there is an app called Welltory that actually tracks your heart rate variability, but only in a one-time single session thing, and it actually takes 100 seconds to 300 seconds. So you basically have to use the sensors on the back, and then you just point your finger, or you tap your finger on it, and then you just wait for 100 seconds, and it gives you a reading. The problem is, similar to heart rate, a single reading doesn't have too much of a validity, because a single reading will always be a single reading. What is much more important is the trends over time, how at different times of the day the heart rate variability changes, similar to the heartbeat, for example, similar maybe to the activity, similar maybe to the steps. So of course the overall total is also important, but in terms of a single measurement like HRV, it doesn't make that much sense to have just single measurements. It is of course better than having no measurements at all, but I am getting older and older every single year, like every one of us, and I think in the future it makes very much sense to be able to at least have your best values, the best values you ever had in terms of health, and tracking as many different things as possible, given constraints like time, given constraints like finances, I think it makes sense to track at least a few basic things. And one of these few basic things nowadays is HRV. HRV actually has a long history of being used as a metric in order to improve athletes' performances, actually. But it only is slowly becoming mainstream right now, with the two main devices that actually track HRV. The first one is a ring, and it's called the Oura Ring, and it goes onto your finger. It can also go onto your ring finger. It seems to be a very good product. It's basically, well, a ring that also charges. It also lasts longer than the Galaxy Watch, for example, because the Galaxy Watch doesn't even last a day, and this ring seems to last for a few days. I don't know exactly about the Whoop. I can look it up right now. They claim 4 or 5 days, which in real life usually means half it, so it's probably 2 to 3 days. Oura also has a subscription similar to Whoop, and this subscription seems to be around €6 or dollars, and this is also a downside. With the watch, for example, I don't have a subscription. I just bought the watch for €350, I guess. I just bought it when it came out last year, and I don't have to pay anything now. I don't have to pay for Samsung Health. I don't pay for access for my data. But with these two devices, you actually have to pay every month, which is a huge cost factor because you cannot just resell really the device anymore. So basically, the initial thinking when buying something like this is that you buy the thing, then you wear it for 1 or 2 years, similar to your smartphone, and then you can actually resell it for at least 50% of the price, probably, maybe even more. But with the Oura Ring and the Whoop, it's different. You continuously have to pay. So therefore, you basically are not losing 50% of the value, but you're basically losing all of the value of the money that you are paying for the subscription. And this was the main thing that kept me from getting one of these two devices. There is also a new ring that is similar to the Oura Ring that is also coming onto the market, but the Oura Ring seems to be the dominant one still now. What is also worth mentioning is that a lot of I would say fitness gurus, even though they are not really fitness gurus, just people who are really into optimizing their health. There is Peter Attia, for example. There is Thomas DeLauer. There is also Andrew Huberman. There is also, a few biohackers on YouTube. And all of these people seem to have one of these two devices nowadays. Not all of these people, but more and more people that are very concerned about their health and that also have very good knowledge about their health and even communicate this knowledge publicly seem to have one of these two devices. I think Peter Attia has the Oura Ring. Chris Williamson, for example, another podcaster, has the Whoop strap. There is also Stephen Bartlett, I cannot pronounce it correctly, probably, UK businessman, who also has a podcast on business. He also wears the Whoop strap. He is not particularly that much into health communication, but into health science communication, but he also seems to have one of these things. Does this mean I am partially influenced by these people having one of these devices? Probably, but there is also a correlation between these people having a very good amount of knowledge in this topic and me just maybe copying this thing and then maybe getting similar benefits, at least in terms of the tracking capabilities. So now the main problem with the Oura Ring, even though the subscription is significantly lower and the initial price for the Oura Ring, so basically you have to buy it up front, similar to the Galaxy Watch, and then what you actually do is you pay €6 a month about this. And this is of course also an upfront cost, but the subscription at least is not that expensive. The main problem now I have with the Oura Ring, it's not a problem I have, I theoretically would have it if I had the Oura Ring, is that it is a ring. And I tend to use my hands. I don't want to have anything on my hands. If you think about the body and where you can actually wear things without the things disturbing what you're actually doing all the time, there are only a few locations. You could say it's the ears, for example, because they don't move that much. The face should usually be not covered because it actually displays all the emotions we need for interacting in daily life. The neck, for example, would also be something that is worth, but for an activity tracker, what you actually need is something that has very tight contact to your skin. So the neck is probably not the best solution. Your ankles could also be something, but of course the main part we have that is very accessible for these kind of devices and also suitable for these kind of devices are the wrists. You could also wear the Whoop, for example, apparently on your bicep, and there is also a Whoop wear you can actually wear. So it's basically either underwear or a short, for example. There is also a shirt, and then you just put it somewhere where it has actually close contact to your skin, which for athletes probably is a good solution. For me, I will just go with the strap because, I mean, let's face it, you have to change the shirt. You want to use the Whoop probably all day because that is when it works the best, because it gives you the most data. And if you have it in a shirt and then you change your clothes, the Whoop is gone. So therefore, I think I will actually strap it onto my wrist. Now, why the Oura Ring is not the best thing? Because you want to use your hands. I already stated it. Let's imagine you are at the gym and then you lift anything. You want to do a pull-up bar. You want to do a pull-up on a pull-up bar. And the problem is that the ring is in the way. It puts pressure on the ring, and it also potentially means that if your fingers, for example, swell because you might have an injury, then it actually might not go off anymore. Similar to this is also, what about climbing, for example? I mean, most people don't climb, but I sometimes boulder, for example, and then I would also have to take the ring off. So basically the Oura Ring is a very good solution for all use cases apart from working out and actual activity. And also if you want to fix something, if you are a craftsman or a workman, then it is also a problem to just have a ring on your finger. In addition, a ring on your finger is something that actually can rip your finger off. If you, for example, I cannot imagine a good scenario right now, but the reason people often take the ring off in a workout is that you potentially could basically tear your finger off if there is something that hooks into your ring. Now, this is the main reason I didn't get the Oura Ring. Even though it is a smaller product, I can actually charge it with a way smaller charger. I don't have to carry an additional band on my wrists. Now, regarding the bands on my wrists, there are two currently, and I actually don't really want to add another one. So on the left hand we have on the left hand we have a classical Casio watch I use for stopping time, and I actually made the strap kind of myself. So this is basically just a textile strap, and I actually bound it together with a hair tie, and then I added the Casio watch on top, because this means I can as easily as this remove the watch if I want to remove it. And the same is true for the Galaxy Watch. I got this strap from Amazon that is just very nice, and both are also black, which is also not that attention seeking, and I can just take it off in order to charge it 3 times a day. And the problem I found with something that you actually have to close, like a normal watch strap, and also the watch strap that comes with the Galaxy Watch, is the fact that it takes a lot of time and you can't just take it off. And that's the main reason. Also, if you just want to tighten it, you just take this one and then you just move it into this direction, and then it's just tightened, and it actually tracks your heart rate maybe better, because it actually has to be quite tight. Therefore, I now ordered the Whoop. I now ordered the Whoop to have basically the benefits of HRV tracking, and because the Oura Ring isn't working, the Whoop seems to be the main alternative that actually very nicely tracks HRV. There seems to be on the Apple Watch some capability of tracking HRV, but I'm not entirely sure about it, and I also don't have an iPhone, I don't have a MacBook, and therefore what I'm saying is I won't change the ecosystem from Galaxy or from Samsung to Apple just for HRV tracking. So therefore, I needed a device that actually could track HRV. And this device is the Whoop strap. Now, what did it cost actually? I bought the cheapest alternative. So for a normal month, you would pay 30 euros. But the upside now is that you get the band actually for free. Not only the band, but also the Whoop sensor itself. So this means it basically is really a subscription. And whenever Whoop upgrades their Whoop, you also automatically get a new one. I think this concept is quite nice because then you theoretically could unsubscribe at any point in time. And you just send the Whoop back apparently. I don't know if you actually get the Whoop. So I just looked up the Q&A on the webpage, and there seems to be, I mean, you can cancel the membership and then you basically still have the membership you paid for till the end of the membership. So basically like a normal membership or any other one. But there seems to be no, so there is a note. You can continue to use Whoop until you reach your subscription end date. Once your membership is officially cancelled, you will not be able to collect, upload, or analyze any of your biometric data. Which also means you cannot ever cancel the Whoop membership, because otherwise you don't have the data anymore. I don't know if you can export the data, but this seems to be not a very nice loophole, but actually the opposite of a Whoop hole. Because you can't ever cancel it. If you still want to use the app, if you still somehow, I mean, theoretically, maybe you could export the data, but then you still would need a way to actually visualize the data. And if you don't want to dive into creating Excel graphs, then this is a really big problem. So for the rest of your life, you probably pay 20 to 30 euros a month if they don't just raise the subscription, because this is something they can do. Because, well, everyone has to go with it. This is a slight problem, I guess. Now there is also an option for an entire year, which is cheaper. It's actually 25 euros for Europe, or at least for my country. And then there is also the option to get it for 2 years and to pay 20 euros a month. I also got a discount, so I found it on the internet. I searched for coupon codes. Usually, it seems that you get a free month, which basically takes off anywhere from 30 to 20 euros off of your entire total sum you actually need to pay over your subscription time. But I found a code, at least at the point in time I purchased it, for 15% off. This means I also calculated it, so I paid 12 euros for shipping fee. I paid 420 euros for, so already with the discount subtracted, I paid 420 euros for 2 years of Whoop subscription, and I paid 12 euros for shipping. This totals in 400, I mean, it still sounds kind of insane to me. I mean, I got the Galaxy Watch, a completely new device, a year ago for 330 euros, or maybe even for 200, slightly under 300 euros because of a student discount. But with the Whoop, I just paid 432 euros for 2 years. And then I still have to pay the same amount every 2 years, basically, apart from the shipping. There are also additional things you can actually use, like a battery pack, and you can also order. The battery pack is just very expensive, just like the rest of the Whoop, where you can actually also order to then maybe have a bicep strap. You can also choose a different color. So the standard color seems to be black. Everything else is 49 euros. So basically 49 euros for a strap that is probably produced for 1 or 2 euros. That's just insane. I mean, so I bought this strap here from Amazon and it was like 10 euros. So basically they produce it in China probably, and then they send it over. And then of course there is shipment cost and marketing cost, but the actual production cost is probably 2 euros. And then they have a margin of anywhere from 50 to 80% probably. And with the Whoop strap, I don't know how high the margin is, probably 95%. It's basically Apple's pricing strategy for add-ons. Now, this sums it up, and this is the reason I got into HRV tracking, or I soon will get into HRV tracking, is that it seems to be just a very good metric. There are two options. The first one is Aura, the second one is Whoop. If you don't want a ring that actually disturbs you or annoys you all the time whenever you want to actually do activities or sport, then the Whoop is basically the only option currently that has a kind of good app, probably. I watched a few tutorials online. So KT Type A is a YouTube channel that actually had a tutorial. There was also Shervin. I don't know what the name of the YouTube channel is. And he also talks about the Whoop. And a few other people like Mike Thurston also have reviews on the Whoop already. But once the Whoop arrives, I will probably update you.